in your head and
Just eavesdropping, for lack of a better term, because I'm trying to reach other people in my situation, quote, targeted individuals, with these solutions that I've found. So if anybody's got any questions about that, I'll be free to answer it.
Tell us about your solutions.
Well, it's about understanding what's going on. Uh, these the weapon system that we talk about so much, the directed energy weapons, that's only one part of it. And if you think about it from a logical standpoint, it makes a lot of sense because if you've seen those active denial systems, the one that they use in like Iraq or Afghanistan around the embassies, that type of thing, they're huge Humvees that require, I don't even know how much energy, lots of energy though, and very, very noticeable, right? So it's like they have these huge arrays on the front of them that lift up on the Humvee, and then they've got this power source behind it. And when they hit somebody with that, it's not a focused beam. Well, it can be, but it's not. That's not what people report. It's a wide area of their bodies that are, I guess exactly what it does is it vibrates the subcutaneous water and heats it up that way. So it takes a mass amount of energy. For the majority of, I think pretty much every target, what's happening is ground and air-based directed energy weapons are interacting with them. So, and I think for the majority of those people, it's mostly air-based, i.e. drones. So everybody talks about having drones following them. So you got, if you're gonna, the point I'm trying to get to is that this is not a lot of power being sent. It's a negligible amount if there wasn't things in our body responding to it, right? So our bodies are irradiated with heavy metals on a near constant basis, every targeted person. And when you, if you run any detox protocol as a targeted person, what you'll find is that you're constantly shedding heavy metals. So there's a heavy metal component. And not only that, but every target reports about having bioplaques, for lack of a better term, molds, funguses on the outside of their skin, and swelling of their lymph nodes and different body parts on the inside, right? Which is basically the lymphatic systems being affected. So the point I'm trying to get to is that directed energy weapons are corresponding to implants that are both physical, and that's something I didn't even bring up, and organic. And that's what I'm getting to, is that nanomachinery is involved. And this is the same nanomachinery, or very similar nanomachinery that was in, that's been in chemtrails for a very long time, that was in the shots, that was, it's been in McDonald's food since the mid 90s, late 90s, somewhere in there, so forth, so forth, so forth. The whole population is infected with nanomachinery. There's very few people in Western society that aren't. And they would have to live in like mountain communities, rural, self-contained communities pretty much. And then even then, like the Amish are still getting chemtrailed, especially getting chemtrailed because of that. So in conclusion, I'm listening to this space to figure out ways to tell people this information. Many people don't want to hear that there's more to this than directed energy weapons, that directed energy weapons, they believe, are doing all of it. And in reality, the nanomachinery is carrying the bulk of it. The physical implants would be the next most impactful thing because of the nanomachinery. And the directed energy weapons are interacting or basically externally accessing that. So when people like Klaus Schwab And I know that name's thrown around a lot, but it's important because he said everything. When he said that the fourth industrial revolution will not be in your world, but will be within you, what he was really talking about was this synthetic biology nanotechnology. And the reason I put synthetic biology in there this time saying it is because if you look at it, the filaments, the smart dust, the things that are in the shot as a genetically modified organism that contains the ability to build nanotechnologies, that's a more accurate representation of what's actually happening. Okay, so you got any questions, or should I stop talking? Okay, I'll keep going then. The first thing to do for people is to disable the physical implants. What the physical implants are doing is they are ordering the construction of nanotechnologies within your body. Okay? And what I mean by that is the wireless body area networks or the mesh systems. It's the same thing. It's what everyone's been talking about, is how we're all getting put on the Internet of Things. Well, you don't just get put on the Internet of Things. There needs to be a hardware inside of you. And that's the nanotechnology. But for that nanotechnology to be effective as of right now, it needs physical implants. Now, I don't know if that's going to be true in 5 years or 10 years or what have you. But this is what makes a targeted individual. So we're all being targeted, and it's just to a different level, right? There's people that, like basically the people that are aiming the weapon systems at you have nanotechnology growing in them. The informants, the spooks, even the billionaires, people like Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab, they've all got this growing in them too. What makes a targeted individual, though, is that there's physical implants in a person, and these physical implants are being accessed by a team of counterintelligence operatives. And these counterintelligence operatives are data mining this person to death. They're torturing, raping, and murdering people for these data ledgers that will go on to target them that are doing it. So in a sense, they are mostly going against themselves by hurting us, which is obvious, but is lost on the average one because they're getting paid. And if you look at it like that we're dealing with a scale, and that these physical implants are ordering this nanotechnology, and this nanotechnology and in turn is being accessed remotely with directed energy weapons, then it's just a matter of how much information do these people need to automate the nanotechnologies, and how much nanotechnology do they need in a person's environment to keep it, because your body will detox it naturally, to keep it in these places to have the same effects that currently can only be gotten to with physical implants. So back to targeted individuals, the first thing to do is to disable the physical implants. And to do that, what you need is an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. All right. The easiest way to build a EMP is to use a stun gun. Take a stun gun, you take a piece of wire, you connect one side of it to one side of the wire to the electrode of a stun gun, one electrode. Then you run a coil, 8-10 loops of 18 gauge wire, something like that. And when I finish, Punks, you can talk. And the other side, you leave a spark gap. And what happens is the spark gap works as the pulse, the stun gun provides the voltage, and the coil creates the torus field, which is just to say a projection of the pulse. So that's how you get your electromagnetic pulse, and you apply that over your body everywhere. And when you've done that for, I don't know, a week, it takes a long time, to cover your whole body. You do like 3 seconds in every spot. What you've done is you've disabled the implants. And at that point, when you've disabled the implants, then the nanomachinery that's still in your body is not being pulsed and drawn to these nodes that were the physical implants that built the specific wireless body area network that allowed stray voltages to be sent through your body through the directed energy weapons.
That was very well said. Is there any way that you could make a video building this so we can get a visual of what you just said?
Yeah, if you go on Onionhead Andrew Rumble, you can just click on my username right now, and the first two videos that are on there, one is of James Shin. He's actually another targeted individual who found this circuit out about 5 years ago, and he's building it in the first video. In the second video, I'm explaining how it works, which is more or less what I just did here.
Okay, thank you. I see that. That's perfect. Does anyone else want to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple things. I do hope everyone's doing good and doing your best to stay happy and doing whatever you do in life. Just stay happy and try hard and enjoy whatever you can. But I just wanted to say, this topic does seem to dive into like multi-sequential type things. So I would say, as well as physical, there is a tremendous wireless part about it too as well. And since it's like it involves like non-disclosure, disclosure, it's like kind of confusing and stuff, etc. So I would just say be open-minded when it comes to things, and definitely yeah, it's just it's really diverse. So not that I said not that anything you're saying is incorrect, or I'm just not too sure on some things, or just would rather not speak about it. But just definitely there are so many different sides to it, and you can see a lot of people do fight about essentially ideas and everything in general. So yeah, I just want to say just do your best and just stay open to a lot of things, and I wouldn't try and double down necessarily on certain kinds of I don't want to say beliefs, but things like that. So with all due respect, yeah, thank you, and I hope everyone's doing good.
That's why I was saying earlier that this is just the first thing. Now, there are elements to this that I do not know. There's so many elements to this because you're talking about layers and layers and layers of weapon systems. And for any one person in the world to say that they know everything about it would be crazy, because we're talking about sets of technologies that were developed independently of each other over the last 70 years, 100 years. I mean, they just started developing directed energy weapons alone in 1910 or 1890, depending who you talk to. The nanotechnologies were a separate group of research that came, out of mostly messing with biological entities like the Borrelia that was found as the culprit, or Bug 40, whatever, Boreas Bug 40, I can never remember how to say it. They came out of Lyme's disease and stuff like that, those types of experiments. And those came out of World War II and on. So it's taken, and there's more and more and more, right? And like the networking side of this, I have no idea really how it all goes through the ASN numbers and through the wireless configurations. I don't really know, but what I do know definitively, and I can say this definitively, having survived it and tested these theories, not only in myself, but other people who have willingly done so off my advice and whatnot, is that the hardware component of this is the critical interface, because it's contained within you. And because you are alive and embodied, you have control over it. And that's why I said the first place to start is getting those implants to malfunction, the physical ones. The second place after that would be understanding that you have this nanotechnology growing in you continuously, and continuously acknowledging that, detoxing it, being aware of it. There's so much more, right? We're talking about weapon system after weapon system after weapon system.
So this helped you, what you just described with the stun gun, this helped you?
100%. But before I did the stun gun, long before I did the stun gun, I was eating alkaline foods on a extremely regular basis. I would only eat alkaline foods for years of my life. And when I could get them that weren't themselves poisoned with heavy metals and whatnot. And that was helping me almost to the same degree as disabling the physical implants, because the physical implants without the nanotechnology present doesn't work.
So would you say we should take the baking soda every day?
Well, so the issue with taking any one particular thing is that the food supply is poisoned, and it's been poisoned for a long time. But since COVID, since 2021, give or take, I mean, here in this area, it was 2022 August. I know they almost the exact same time. The food in a plurality has been extra poisoned with heavy metal particulates and synthetic heavy metal compounds. It's being sprayed at the ports. I think this is why the ports got backed up back then, that Suez Canal nonsense. And I think it happened at the other Panama Canal too, but I can't remember. I'm not for sure though. But anyways, I'm not for sure that's just a hypothesis, because that's about the time everything started getting poisoned in this new way. But at the ports, at distribution, and at some grocery bigger chains that are involved in it. But the bigger chains that are involved in it are no longer having to do it, because most of it's done at the ports. Pre-2022, there were certain companies I would not buy from because they would have done this. For example, Walmart. And I don't care, they can sue me because this is all true. Walmart, they poisoned the borax going back to 2019. And not only that, but there was a soap I was using that had iodine that they were involved in poisoning too with these synthetic heavy metal compounds back to 2018. So all we saw was that in 2022, it all got expanded, including the baking soda, for example. Hydrogen peroxide, because hydrogen peroxide was so good at destroying nanotech, was poisoned all the way back in 2018. Stuff like that. Baking soda would be one of those things that would have been poisoned a long time ago.
I also just want to say one last thing. I apologize for interrupting you, Onion. But also, I do got to get going. But one thing I just wanted to leave you guys with is just stay happy, clear-minded, and just be mentally strong and be resilient, because it does seem like a lonely journey, and don't ever let this world or whatever it is try and make your world smaller and singulative. But I was going to say, if you guys do want to explore more on the science and like on the weapon side, look into essentially like multi-sequential digital security systems, the wireless ones too, as well as wired, and I say that openly and obviously mixed up too as well. So, but yeah, freaking hope you guys are all doing good, man, and do what you can.
Yeah, and I don't, that's exactly what I don't know anything about, what Punk's World was just talking about. And I know it all does play a part, but I'm just focused on what I can internally control and then moving out from there. But yeah, if you got any questions about any of this stuff, where did I see you, 702?
Probably in the chats. I saw you in a chat one night and heard you speak and was impressed with your being stable. Right now I'm kind of going through it pretty rough. Being hit in the head with I guess a fray effect. I'm not really sure. It's like tinnitus, but not. It's electronic tinnitus, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
In my head, it feels like it's under pressure, and I have
Yeah.
to plug my nose to blow my ears all day long.
Yeah, I used to do that all the time too.
Oh, so that gets better?
Yeah, no, I'm being hit right now. And, this is what I sound like.
Yeah, I talk louder because I feel like I have to talk over this noise in my head, so I feel like I shouldn't really talk because I'm so loud. Damn.
No, you sound fine. You sound fine. I used to have the same pressures too. And excuse me, I'm burping a lot because I'm breathing this particulate. And that's like another thing that people aren't getting, is that You're constantly being flooded with heavy metal particulates. Your neighbors, and it's also sometimes they utilize the sewage system to do it. Sometimes they utilize chemtrails. Usually it's a combination of everything. Sometimes they just do cars idling outside your house.
Yeah, they where this began, I was living in some condos in Mill Creek, Washington, and they parked a car outside my house, or my condo, right in front of our condo. And what was strange about this is that the space belonged to one apartment, but yet the owner that claimed he was the owner of the car never moved in, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months, maybe more. But the guy that claimed it was his lived on the opposite side of where this apartment that actually owned the parking spot. So it was just strange. But the car never moved.
Yeah. Hey, am I creating an echo on your end?
No. No. Is there an echo?
Yeah, I think it's coming from your mic. I'm gonna put my headphones on just to make sure. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What part I'm in Vancouver, Washington right now.
Are you? Okay. Yeah, I'm in Everett right now.
Oof.
But I was living in Mill Creek, when this kind of like blasted me and my daughter. And, an elderly woman bought the condo below us, and it kind of ramped up then. And I know they came to her and they told her things about me that weren't true. Because I had spoken to her a couple times and made friends with her, and then she came up and confronted me with her arms crossed one day and said, well, what about your criminal behavior? Something like that. And I'm like, I looked at her and I said, look, I'm just a single mom. I go to work every day. All I do is go to work and take care of my daughter. I said, I don't have a criminal background. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. And then she kept approaching me, and she seemed very bothered by something that was happening around the condos. And she kept telling me things. She said, there's something going on in these condos that's really, really, really strange, Kim. I want you to know that. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of sensed that. And then I know they threatened her. She invited me into her apartment, and she showed me how to double lock my door to go to Home Depot and buy this lock for my door. From the inside, and that was her telling me, get one, but I didn't hear it. And then they moved a man in with her that was younger than her, and I know that they forced this man on her. And he was coming up and breaking into my condo when I would leave, and even when I would sleep, he came in one night. They cleared the camera. Me and my daughter woke up. Our cat was outside when the last we saw our cat was at 3 a.m, and she was sitting on our kitchen table in the camera. In the morning when we woke up, I had bought a second lock for my front door, and I stuck it in there, and it was sitting on the counter. And this was not an easy lock to get in or out.
What year?
It had to
What
have
year
made,
was this?
it was summer of 2022.
Okay. So this is all happened in the last 3-4 years to you?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you're going through it, but there's some things. It gets really scary, but I'm just going to tell it to you straight because that's the best way for people to take it. When they go after, and you probably already know this, but when they go after one person, they go after all their friends and family at the same time. And
Yes, my daughter, okay, when we moved into this condo, our eyesight was perfect, both of ours. I've never had an eyesight problem. I was, I think 50 at the time, about 50 at the time, and I still didn't have any eyesight problems. And all of a sudden, we just had all these eyesight problems. So we both went to the eye doctor the same day, same time, and both of our vision was equally bad in each eye, but yet the opposite eye, and we slept in the opposite direction.
usually it's left eye problems, and it's got to do with another weapons system they're using. It's got to do with nanobots, and this is where it gets way too hard for the average person to grasp. But yes, nanobots are used what they do. They're molecular sized. I don't even think it's like sub nano. I don't know. It's very, very small, but, they crawl and it takes a very, very long time. First of all, they're sprayed onto your stuff during break-ins, your food, your clothes, your bedding, especially bedding, stuff like that. And it crawls your furniture. It crawls into you over a very, very long time. And the reason for this is because they have payloads. They have little payloads of polymer. And that polymer is a component, the main component of the nanotechnology. So, and see, this is why people that only talk about directed energy weapons are totally missing the point, because this nanotechnology, mesh network, or whatever you want, wireless body area network, it needs to be maintained on a regular basis. And that's why they spray your stuff with nanobots. Anyways, the point about the eye is that the left eye is for almost every target. If you look at them, you take a picture of them, you see them on camera, what have you, you look at yourself in the mirror right now, what you'll see is that your left eye is droopy. And that's because the electrical potential that's associated with all the muscles around your eye is being sapped up by this nanotechnology. And these nanobots are, because your eye is an access point to that part of your brain, are constantly invading it. And it will just destroy your vision. But it's not permanent. That's the best thing about all of this, is none of this stuff is permanent. You can heal from all of it, that I'm aware of anyways. You can use an oil, like a mineral oil, or anything that your eye can tolerate, really, that's an oil based. And what will happen is it will kind of sweep and clean gradually, your skin, your eyeball, what have you, of the nanobots and that bioplaque. That's what that bioplaque is. It comes from the inside of your body, from nanotechnologies proliferating, but it also is spot welded by these nanobots. And the nanobot part of this is the last big secret that they've been able to keep. I've got some source documents on it, but it's very, very, very hard to find, because they need that specifically along with the physical implants to make you a quote targeted individual. But it's not nearly as important as the greater understanding of nanotechnology or physical implants.
Yeah, after they broke into my condo that one time, I had a needle mark on my right arm. It was quite large. It took like 3 weeks to heal, and I kept picking the scab off it. I'd reach up to scratch it and accidentally knock the scab off like 3 times, and for 3 weeks.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because there's two things that should be said about that. One, that was most likely them injecting you with a physical implant, because these implants are small enough they can pass through a needle a lot of time. A lot of time they don't even need to needle you. They just needle you to get it deeper. They can shoot it into you from a distance. And that's usually what they do to the average person. Two is that these people that are breaking into your property and whatnot, they are cloaked. They are using a invisibility cloaking technology that's been around since the 80s. Literally, the NSA has been doing this to people since the late 70s, early 80s. The disclosure community, the UFO people, were having this happen to them way back then. This is a big way that they're sneaking around our properties. And I've actually got footage of it from Kenneth Grove out of Houghton Lake, Michigan. He sent me a video of it. I should make a video of it to catalog it.
Well, I just don't understand when they broke in that night, why I didn't wake up. That's the only thing that doesn't make any sense. And me and my daughter woke up. We could see that someone was in the condo while we were sleeping. We headed to the footage to look it over, and they had cleared it or turned the camera off during the time. But I felt like I should have woken up if somebody came into the apartment, and I didn't. And so, yeah, that was really scary.
Well, so they can use, okay, see, now we're talking about specific tactics, but they'll use the nanotechnology bioplaque on your eyelids and heat them up. And this is just what you can notice this anecdotally, and that's how I have. And what that will make you extremely sleepy. Now, if they trigger that with inflammation in certain parts of your brain, it can keep you in a lucid dream state. In that lucid dream state, you will have a problem with waking up. At that lucid dream, I'm sure you've had this before. Every target has. In a lucid dream state, then they have the cloaked person come into your environment and hit you with one of these other biochemicals, whether it's scopolamine or I don't know. I don't know everything they're using. I'm not a spook. I don't break into people's houses and drug them while they're sleeping. But that's what I'm talking about. And maybe it's aerolized rohypnol. I don't know. But at that point, you go into obviously a much deeper sleep. And then they start physically implanting you or, I'm sorry, this is rough, but rape is a thing. It's 100% a thing. They sell access to, women, children, and men. And this is to, another point. This is organized crime, right? This is disgusting. Organized crime. They're going to do whatever they do and whatever they have access to, but don't feel like you're doing something wrong by physically barricading. All right. There's nothing wrong with physically barricading. Doesn't mean you're insane. It means you're going through something that's insane. And it's just something to keep in your mind. Sorry, I'm trying to stay off the soapbox here.
So do you use this stun gun thing all the time to keep up on what's happening to you?
I use the stun gun occasionally, but I'm pretty sure I found almost all the implants. I am making a more powerful one right now just to make sure that I have. But I was using a more powerful one before. So it wasn't a stun gun. It was a circuit that I had built. That's how when I saw James Shin's invention, I knew. I was like, wow, this is perfect. This is exactly what I've been praying for. Because I needed something more mobile for various reasons. But either way, no, the stun gun is to disable the physical implants more so than anything. It does affect the growth of nanotechnology, but the nanotechnologies are going to continuously grow if you have heavy metals in an acidic body, the right conditions, basically internal conditions for them to grow. So you're talking about a procedure, and we're talking about steps. And the first step is disabling those physical implants.
Where do you think these implants are on us? Do you think they're in our ears?
They are everywhere. I alone had close to 15 on the left side of my head. And I know I had a little bit more than the average person, but in total, I think it was probably 50, give or take. I mean, we're talking about smaller than hair and can be shot into you from a distance. And not only that, but sometimes they have the propensity to be able to be shot through things, like certain types of walls, certain types of glass. I don't know. Now, I don't know about glass, but I know definitely not metal. They can't be shot through metal. But, I mean, I could go into that, why I know, but no, actually they did. I had one shot through a tin roof once in Nicaragua.
How long have you been going through this?
This is the 11th year. The next place he moved to was as a server, as a person that delivered legal documents. And this is where my family had access to all these. This is where I learned of it, right? This administrative society. And these people, they all know each other. You know, it's a small world of the people that run the courthouse, right, in your local area. And it's inside that small world that these pedophiles are operating from. And they're hiding behind all these layers of protection. And they do have some plausible deniability built into that too. Like, they don't like me because I'm a judge, not because I'm a pedophile and they know, right? So when they do get caught, they can back on some of that. They don't like me because I'm the city water director, and they're against fluoride, some bull crap like that. But that's where the pedophiles are that are really running the country. And it's in every major county in the United States of America. It's definitely in your county, 702. And it's probably in Jim and Amanda's county too. There's only a few places in the country that these people aren't. And they're mostly being directed and organized and maintained through informal military connections. So these people, they go to war. A lot of these pedophiles, they go to war or some empire planning, building things somewhere in the world, and they get access to this world, to how you really get in power, and then they come back and they maintain. See, I shouldn't talk about this too much because I don't know it as well as the county side. But anyways, they end up becoming the force, the hidden hand that moves the county people around. Those military, they at that point they're DHS contractors, they're FBI contractors. They're the secret police that maintain the inner pedophile community within the administrative parallel society. That was a lot of words. Sorry. Jeffrey Epstein was that for the elites. That was the echelon, the highest echelon of the hierarchy of our society, at the highest point, which is really the lowest moral point. That's where he was operating. But that same operation is happening in almost every neighborhood in America. Maybe every 3 neighborhoods, something like that. I'm just talking a lot, so if anybody wants to say anything, that's cool.
Nope, just you're fine.
So the targeted individual is the weapon system to make sure all of that continues operating. And they always need bodies to fill it, right? So they're going to be looking for people that fill that can offer good data for the greater thing I was talking about, which is this rising technocracy, because this is all working to a new type of society, right? And then in the new type of society that's already started, we all have nanotechnologies growing into us, and we can all be accessed externally by the people running society, which is to say the billionaire, trillionaire, the old world nobility that own the corporations. And this is why corporations are existing on a higher level than any one government. Why, a company like General Electric tells the United States government what to do. It's because General Electric is the actual United States government. It's not just General Electric. There's a whole bunch of them, that fit this, the people that own Capital One. There's a lady on here that's always talking about Capital One. This is why she got put in the targeted program. But I was just watching one of your videos. That's why it reminded me of it. But there are many of these corporations. If you think about where a corporation started, they started as, what's the right word for it? Oh man, I just totally forgot it. It's a charter. Before corporations existed, there was charters. And what that meant was that to do business in any one area, you had to get a charter from your municipality. So this is pre-1880. And the municipality could revoke that charter and revoke your right to do business. It's actually not an American constitutional right that you can open a business, all right? Because back then, you needed a charter. And the counties and cities and whatever government would refuse people's charters for lots of reasons. Because of street traffic, that was a big one. They didn't like the type of people that were coming in and out of the business for a variety of reasons. Right? That was a big reason, though, where charter, or that the company wasn't good for the community in sense that it was taking too many of the shared resources. Right? So that's like your bottled water companies today. Like they wouldn't exist if we were in the charter system. After the Civil War, roughly everywhere in the world, but here in particular, corporations got personhood. And when corporations got personhood, it was for a specific reason. The monarchies in Europe in 1840 abdicated. And they abdicated because they were getting discovered by the people and they were being hurt. Not all of them, but some of them in some places. This is the French Revolution and stuff like that. And not everything that happened in the French Revolution was organic, but either way, I'm getting way off here. That same process was happening all around the world. So they needed a new model to administer their power over people. And their whole business would be the best ticket. If you can't actively own government out in the open, well, you own the business interest, and then you make the government have to look towards businesses to do anything, which is where we are with the lobbying and whatnot. And I'm just rambling here, but totally rambling. But either way, this is how the old world monarchs of southern Germany, Switzerland, northern Italy, central Italy, that area, and England, and basically everywhere the crown has proliferated, and they're all cousins, how they ended up owning all the big corporations that stock every item basically that we buy. So anytime, well, not any, but most items that we buy, and they buy out anyone that competes, because that's the real competition, right? If they can keep all the products on the shelf as their own, if they can own all the banks, if they can do those, all the food you eat, then they can control everything about your life, just like they did when we were serfs or our great-great-grandparents were serfs. So they basically updated the system to make them a hidden hand behind the governments using this corporate personhood model. And that was 1880, we're in 2025 right now. And because they've had all this power for all this time, they're attempting to do this next thing, which is now your serfdom is going to be beneath the skin. And you're going to have this nanotechnology. So you don't even get the illusion of freedom of choice anymore, because that was actually too much free will. When you had freedom of choice, you could potentially thwart their plans, which had happened many, many times. And I could go into that a lot, but they had they literally tried to put us in an apocalyptic nuclear war back in 1960. That was something that was barely avoided through the Kennedy, Castro, Cuba missile crisis. But either way, it goes on and on and on, and I could sit here and ramble.
So do you know any laws that we should be pounding on to have them removed to help us in any way?
No. I think we should, and personally I disagree, just from a personal standpoint. I might be wrong. I probably am wrong. But I think that we need to reject their system in entirety. And the first way we do it, because once they attempted, we're literally going through a nanotechnology genocide right now. And I'm literally being tortured. My family is literally I have dead relatives. It's a literal thing that's happening right now. Once you do that, I think you've lost all authority and legitimacy of rule. And now, because of that, they're going to be thrown out. And it's one way or the other. And it's, what do we replace that with? That's where I'm at. I think individual sovereignty, for lack of a better term. I know that's like a buzzword for terrorist right now. The FBI, DHS is throwing around, but there's a reason for that. Is the way to go. We have to be as resilient as possible. So for us in our particular situation, get those physical implants deactivated. That's the first step. The second step is understanding the nanotechnology, regularly cleaning your GI, regularly cleaning your colon. The third step is understanding the nanobots and using low voltages across your body, like a TENS unit, to disable them, because TENS units disable nanobots.
Yeah, I used a TENS unit and I felt a lot better. The strange thing about it, though, is when I stopped using it, I pulled the stickers off my lower back because I had them down there, and I could feel something zapping me right where the stickers were, like where the glue stuff was.
They probably adapted to what you were doing and put an implant down there, and they were hitting that implant with the dews to counteract, to try to balance. Because if they can, it's not good enough that they just send stray voltages through your body. It's that they send it down the artificial nervous system of nanotechnologies that they're constructing. When you send stray voltages across that, when it's not where it's supposed to be, that will shake it loose too. This nanotechnology is very fragile. And that's the big problem they're having, is that people, just through regular activity, aren't accruing the toxicity loads that I think they thought they were going to get out of people 10 years ago. I don't know though.
What about the tobacco? I heard that tobacco destroys nano.
Smoking in general increases the environment's receptiveness to nano. But I think nicotine, to a lesser extent, does help deconstruct it. But there's a bigger concept behind that too. And it's like everything I've been talking about, the only reason I've been talking about that with assuredness is because I'm only talking about the things I know with assuredness. There's so much to this I don't know. But the nanotechnology grows under acidic environments. And what I mean by that is that there is a natural balance to electricity. There's three energies of this world. And you have to go back to Tesla, and I'll try not to do that. But Tesla and Steinmetz, and there's a few other guys. I always forget their names, and I always say it like that too. So it's a little annoying for me to repeat myself. But it's just because I haven't expanded my conversation, because it's such good information. But let's just call it positive, negative, and neutral. Positive energies are radiative, are magnetic. Negative energies are counterspatial, so they don't radiate you, they don't project into the environment, they collapse on themselves, are dielectric, okay? And neutral is the balance at any one given time. Another term for that would be the plane of inertia, in which the majority of energy in the world is the average of it, would be the best way to say it. If you took all the energies and averaged it out, that's neutral. Now, to give you an example of this, room temperature, by definition, is neutral. Hot would be positive, and negative would be cold, or cold would be negative. So when you talk about air molecules, hot is more space in between them, and cold is less space in between them. So and that's just one example, right? That you can take this example, this idea of the three electrical energies, and expand it out to everything. In our body, because we're water-based, we use the alkaline, neutral, and acidic model. We don't say positive, neutral, and negative, and we don't say magnetic, neutral, and dielectric. We very well could, though. Since our bodies have become magnetized or acidic, right? Through the heavy metal particulates and the nanotechnologies that are using those heavy metal particulates to build, then what we need to do is we need to counterbalance those charges with negativity or dielectricism or alkalinity. Okay? When you provide your body with dielectricism or alkalinity, what happens is the acidic, sticky qualities of your blood to diminish. Okay. That's what forms strokes, clots, heart attacks, most chronic illnesses that most Americans deal with. Not all chronic illnesses are associated with acidicness, but the vast majority of them are. It's in those acidic conditions that nanotechnology has the molecular and physical space and electromagnetic qualities to flourish in. So if you want to get rid of nanotechnologies that are built up within you, if you want to detox, it would be the same thing you would use to detox normally. And that's why this system is so fragile. It's not bulletproof at all. It's so far from being bulletproof if people just understood what I'm saying. And they will, given more time. The problem, 702, is that we are being targeted, are on the very edge of this. And everyone's behind us by years. But that's not everyone, most, the vast majority. That's not going to be the case forever. Pretty soon people are going to realize what I'm saying is true because it's going to be self-evident in their life. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so when you use that tool that you made with the taser, what got better for you once you started using it? And yeah, what got better?
So the implants afterwards could not be accessed externally. I mean, they could be hit, right? But voltages could no longer travel through artificial nervous systems of nanotechnology to shock me internally. Now that energy presides at the exact point of the implant. So it feels a little bit like getting a shot, but not as bad, not nearly as bad, versus stray voltages coursing through my body.
You know, that makes sense because I've felt like, okay, there's been times where I feel like they're prodding around in my freaking body. It's just insane to think that. But I have felt that way. And then now I feel like I'm just getting shocked in like certain spots.
That's exactly right. The nanotechnologies at the areas where you're feeling you're being prodded are not present. So all they can do is access the implant, but not course the voltage. Once you run the EMP device over the implant, the nanotechnology will not, as far as I know, will never be able to form there again. So the implants work as nodes. They're hubs.
So did the pressure, did it go away in your head once you started using this?
Yes, but the pressure will be there if there's enough inhalants in the area. So that's why I brought up the nanoparticular particles, the chemtrail weapons being released from the ground in the sky. If you breathe enough of them, just because the way blood flow works, you'll have symptoms similar to having the nanotechnology present.
Well, just so you know, I've been at my daughter's here for I think about maybe 6 months, maybe a little bit more. And I've met 2 people that are targeted besides me, just from hanging out in her apartment and meeting people that come through.
Mm-hmm. Be careful about spooks, They'll seek you out because I know there's other targeted people, but what are the odds that they would come to you? Just, listen to your gut on that or don't, however, listen to your heart, your higher self.
Yeah, I've been really careful with both of them, but one of them kind of convinced me that he was, because when I first met him, I met him about 2 years ago, and he told me about 2 years ago that he had lesions in his brain. And I was like, well, why would you have lesions in your brain? And it made me think, is he targeted? But I just didn't think, I just dropped it at that. And then I saw him recently again, and I just told him, gave him a rundown of some of the crap that goes on around me. And he said, that's been happening to me for years. And I was like, are you serious? And he said, yeah, because he used to live in my daughter's apartments here.
Mm-hmm.
And he said there was a hole in the wall and something would shoot out of the hole in the wall and shoot out at him, he said, like a mist or something. And her apartment here, we painted the ceiling in her apartment, so we know these holes were not here. And somebody came in and put like 4 holes in her living room ceiling above her couch. And I was sitting on the couch like for 2 days straight, and I could smell something heavy coming, it was falling from the ceiling. And so after 2 days of putting up with this smell and this weirdness, I went up and plugged the holes. About 3 days later, me and my daughter left the apartment for about an hour. When we came back, somebody had poke the holes through again while we were gone in that 1 hour. And so I recovered him again.
Yeah. No, you did exactly what was right. If I had to guess, that guy is a spook. If I had to guess.
Okay.
If I,
Yeah,
just because,
I've wondered that.
that just sounds like how these spooks do it. They feel guilty, and not only that, but they feel superior. So they try to like tell you, in a coded conversation way, especially when they think that you're not hip to their organized crime bullshit. Excuse my language.
No, I've wondered about him too. I've wondered about both of them, if they weren't just planted around me or paid on their way into my daughter's apartment.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when they go for one person, they're going to go for everybody. Because if you think about human trafficking, like at this level, they're spending so much money and time and resources to go after one person. To not go after those people that you spend your time around is a waste of money for them. And that's the way. Go ahead.
That's what I thought too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. The amount of money they've put into destroying my life is just, it's amazing. I mean, the first year alone, we're talking probably $1 million. I know that they were paying the rent below me and next door to me, because the people that live next door to me, the girl, she didn't even live there. She lived somewhere else, and she would come like once a week and stay the night there. And then she moved her mom in with her that came from Ukraine, but yet she didn't live there either. Every apartment around me has weird stuff going on.
Yeah, and yeah,
Like,
because it's organized crime. They're going to be doing a whole bunch of things, and that or your sister, or your daughter, are going to be their bread and butter. That's going to be their regular thing they can fall back on, but they're going to have lots of other things going. I know they get involved in counterfeiting. I know they get involved in prostitution. I know they get involved in fentanyl. I've seen all of these things firsthand, and I've seen much, much worse than that. Hey, 702, do you mind if I use this conversation for the Rumble channel?
yeah, go for it. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I don't care.
It really helps people, even regular people.
Yeah, I wish that everyone could be here to hear what you're saying.
Well, I bet for you hear that you're real, you know,
Oh, yeah.
because I think regular people think this is happening, in a bubble. They don't understand how many typical people like yourself, and not to say that you're, you know what I mean, like you're a mom,
Oh, yeah. Also, after I bought my car, I would pull up to my house, or I'd be leaving work, and there'd be coworkers sitting in their vehicles, because we had an employee parking lot. We all left at the same time, and an employee would be sitting in his vehicle on his phone, and all of a sudden my windows would roll up and down. And so, yeah, I ran over to his car because I knew it was him, and he was trying to hide his phone. He was really nervous and trying to hide his phone from me. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought it was you, you know.
Well,
I'd go to a gas station and go in to pay for my gas, come back out. Some guy would be sitting on the curb in the gas station with his phone looking at me, and my windows would be rolled down.
okay, that's the counterintelligence. Remember, you got to think about this in terms of counterintelligence. So, what I mean by that is they're trying to counter your intelligence. Okay. So if you understand that there's a team of operators more or less on you, then you can stop looking at whatever goon they send out your way with a camera or with a phone. Cameras is a main way they do a lot of this. They want to direct your attention. So anytime that you sense that your direction is being given to one thing, like your attention is being directed towards one thing, acknowledge it and then look for where they're operating from. And you will always find the military contractor if you know where they're at. I mean, if you know that this is happening. You catch the operation in real time, you'll catch the operator in real time. When you catch the operator in real time, then you see the people, right? And when you see the people, you can stop telling yourself that it's one thing when it's not. Like go back to your daughter. Your daughter is not the issue. right? Your daughter had a moment of weakness. She failed herself. You're her mother. All right. At the end of the day, she knows that. You just need to remind her that you can always come back from your failures, but, and we don't even need to talk about it, but you need to stop doing that for money. I'm sure she was money short at the time. Either way, the real problem is the people behind her, right? The people in her life, the people, one step removed from her life that set that whole thing up. As long as she's not still doing it. See, the counterintelligence.
No, she's not. I think she realized what she did, and realized it was wrong.
Okay, we'll just make.
But I think it's too late, you know.
Well, make sure of that. I don't think there's ever too late. We all have forgiveness, but the people in her.
Oh no, I mean it's too late for her to, turn it around.
Oh, you mean she's still connected?
No, I think it's too late. She did what she did, and I think she feels really bad.
Oh, I see what you mean, to talk about it or acknowledge it. But that's okay.
Yeah.
If you know it has happened and she's not doing it anymore and those influences in her life are gone, then that's a perfect time to forgive. But either way, the point is that she was utilized as to direct your attention to her, right? While this other thing was happening. And the other thing was happening is that they were gaining access into your tightest social circle. And that's honestly, that right there is why that wasn't a good counterintelligence operation, is because, I'm not going to give people ideas, but that's not how I would have ran it if I was going to run it. All this shit, excuse my language, I wouldn't have known any of this if I hadn't lived through thousands and thousands and thousands of these things happening to me. And I don't recommend anyone learn any of it unless you have to. This is not a good way to live, thinking about counterintelligence operations being ran on you or running them on other people. But essentially, once you understand how these operations work, what you're doing is you're neutralizing them, and then you're utilizing their own assumptions against them. And when you do that effectively over enough period of time, then you can control the way these teams act in your environment. And when you can control the way the teams act in your environment, then you've gained the initiative. Then it's just a matter of them perpetually losing these engagements. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's how you beat this on the personnel side of it. But before you get there to the beating it on the personnel side of it, and you could start with that. Honestly, that's where I started. But the technology wise is much easier. Once you get the implants deactivated and you get knowledgeable about the nanotech within your blood, within everybody's blood, but particularly targeted individuals, then deciphering the counterintelligence operations in real time will become much easier. And then you can start instigating reactions within their framework and taking back the initiative from them. And, and then when you do that, they'll try to kill you. That's how this goes. But, you'd rather have all of that, resiliency and liberty and freedom and them trying to kill you than you being tortured to death as a technocratic slave. It's my opinion. I think it's because what I'm doing personally is very dangerous to them. And beyond that, my travels. When I traveled to Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, Nicaragua, Bolivia, and Brazil, I saw who runs the U.S. military. And it's these billionaires, and they utilize Israelis. Israelis are the managerial class of this system. They're the ones that make it all work on an international level. The Russians, the Chinese, and the US all coordinate, but they only do that, well, maybe not only, but they mostly do that through Israelis. So when I was in Mexico, right when I got to Mexico, that's the first place I went, Israelis tried to throw me off of a 4-story building on the fourth floor of a building at a hostel. And when I went to Costa Rica next, they tried killing me. Long story I don't want to get into, a whole bunch of times. In Nicaragua, the Sandinistas ran the government there. So it took them about 2.5 months, 3 months to create enough government corruption connections to get in to try to kill me. You know, they had already tried to kill me using Costa Rican military before that. But at that point, then they were using the Nicaraguan government apparatus. After that, Panama is run by the U.S. military and Israel. Then it was Bolivia. Bolivia is ran by the Chinese and Bolivians and Brazilians. Brazil is ran kind of, that's why I went, it's kind of like Brazilian mixed with Bolivian. Brazil is ran by, and there's Mennonites there too. Bolivia, I dealt with a lot of Mennonites. That's another conversation. Very interesting. In Brazil, I dealt with Israeli and American and Brazilian. And actually, the Brazilian gang stalking program was established and ran by former FBI. Okay, so that should just tell you everything. The area I was in, that was Porto Alegre of Brazil, which is the southern part of Brazil. It's very, very much like United States there. The FBI had been brought in there in the previous 10, 15 years to run the program. I actually have names associated with that, so I'm not just guessing these things. But either way, when I got back from Brazil, at that point, everyone I knew on some level, like actually knew, not just acquaintances, was being harassed, right? And it's not all the time for everyone at full max by any means. It's just enough at the right times to have an effect. And because I know that, the effect is mostly negligible, but still, it's happening. I pissed off a lot of, long story short, I pissed off a bunch of Israelis, a bunch of Satanist, Luciferian Israelis that want to see me dead.
So as far as a lot of people know in America, we are clueless to Israel because we hear so much back and forth between Palestine, Israel, and everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I heard recently that Trump maybe is kind of like turning his back a bit on Israel. Can you explain what Israel has done in a clear way so that we can understand?
Well, okay, I mean, politics aside, because I don't really want to get into that. The Palestinian thing is, it's a testing ground. And it's the same way that Iraq or Afghanistan was testing ground for the American empire. In Israel, America, NATO it's all NATO, right? And Israel, this is see, I'm rambling. I'm jumping around. The point I would say of what Israel really is everything they're doing in Palestine is very, very bad. And it's much, much worse than you could imagine. The human trafficking going on. I mean, organ thefts, all sorts of things. Pedophilia that you wouldn't believe of what they're doing to these Palestinian children. And it's not just Palestinian children. They go all around the world, these Israeli spooks, and do this. They get children from Haiti, they get children from all over the place to do this. And what Israel really is it's a scapegoat for the old world monarchs that run the corporations I was talking about earlier. Jews have always been a scapegoat for the royals, for the crown. So in 1860, I think it was, they started trying to create a state for Jewish people. And that was basically just to direct the world's ire at it. And who is they? They is the British monarchy, which was the seat of the crown at the time. They established this state in Israel or in Palestine, the Levant, in I think it was the Balfour Pact. What was that? I think it was 1919. They established the government directive for it. The years I'm going to mess up. but the actual state of Israel was established in 1947. Now, if you go back into the American, I think 1947, if you go back into the American things that happened in America at that time, the nuclear weapons had just been, established as being the primary reason why America was going to rule the world, with Hiroshima and Nagasaki being the examples of that. The Rosenbergs, Ethel and Julian, I cannot remember. I'm sorry, I'm going to mess up a little of this history. The Rosenbergs ended up stealing the nuclear technology, or some of it, and giving it to the communists, the Soviets. The Soviets, Bolsheviks, or had been established by the Bolsheviks, Lenin and Trotsky and Stalin, they were all connected to the crown through this long-standing, I'm getting way off, occult society of Judaism, the occult element of Judaism, which connects to the secret societies that has always served the throne. Okay, so you had this long history of Jews being scapegoated by the throne once the throne's actions are found out. My point in bringing up the Rosenbergs was the Rosenbergs were acting as triple agents at behest of Israel, but they were triple agents of Russia, Israel, and United States. And their job was to facilitate the technological seepage, information to keep everything at the international level that, was the plan. And the plan was to build up the communist Russia, Soviet Union, to a comparable level as the United States, and entered this Cold War. The world is split into either America or the NATO bloc or the USSR bloc. So Israel at that period during the Cold War, its main job was to make sure that happened, was to keep the Cold War going, basically. And nowadays, since the Soviet Union has fallen apart, Israel's new job is to be the secret police and administer to American bureaucracy, Russian and Chinese bureaucracy, what should be happening, similar to when the Cold War was going. But now, instead of 2 blocks, you've got 3 blocks. But that's really what Israel is in a conversation greater than Palestine. Not that Palestine's not horrible, because it is, but it's very similar to what the American empire did in Afghanistan and Iraq, and what they're doing in Africa and a whole bunch of other places.
Got it.
Yeah, I know that's a lot. There's a lot to it.
It is a lot.
So it's got nothing to do with Judaism. Besides that, there's an element of Judaism that's connected to the crown, but there's an element of Christianity that's connected to the crown. And the crown has always used the Vatican as the main focal point. In fact, some would argue, rightfully so, that it's the Vatican that resides over the crown. And I think that's mostly true.
I'm starting to believe that also.
Well, if you look at what the Vatican is, and then it will become clear that that's mostly the case. And then during the medieval ages, it was clearly the case. Because if you got excommunicated as a king, if you got excommunicated from the papacy, then what would happen is all of the other the thrones around you would attack you, right? So basically, you stepped out of the power control, and now you're going to be put back into place, or else you're going to be disposed of. And that's exactly what happened for, give or take, 1,000 years, from 1840 back to 840, Charlemagne. So yeah, right around 1,000 years. And it's Charlemagne that really gave, now I'm just too much history. I'll just stop. But that's what Israel really is. As much as the Israelis want to make things about Jewishness, it's got nothing to do with Jewishness. In fact, the majority of them are crystal people. They're atheist. They're gay. And not to say there's anything wrong with gay people, but it's got nothing to do with religion. They're just very new age Luciferian types. And again, I don't have a problem with your religion, even if you are a new age person. I'm just to say that it's all a sham. It's a lie, what they're presenting. Yeah, I learned that firsthand. I knew Israel had problems with Palestine before I left the country. But once I left the country, then it was like, well, fuck, all these Israelis are pedophiles and they're all covered in Freemason symbols from like, they got tattoos on them. They got crazy. They're tattooed with images of children being sacrificed, and not just like, I saw this many times, not just like children being killed, like ancient traditions, like the brazen bull in particular. I don't know if you know the brazen bull, but they would put people in this bowl and they would heat up the bowl that was made of bronze. It's the same bull statue that's on Wall Street. They would use that. That would be like more or less the template. And they would heat that thing up and people would scream from the inside because it's hollow. And they'd be put in the inside and it would sound like a whistle coming out the outside. And that is what people referred to as Luciferian religion. That's it in antiquity. And it's the worship, in that case, of Zeus. See, I'm getting way off, sorry. Zeus, Lucifer, Ra, all these different pagan gods, not all of them, but a lot of them, directly relate to this religion, that the occult, the secret societies of today that actually run the world believe in. And they don't call themselves pagan, and they don't call themselves Luciferian. Some of them would if you would press them. They call themselves a part of the craft, the world's oldest religion. Like if you were going to press them, that's what they would say. They were part of the world's oldest religion. And that's really what they believe. Anyways, I was trying to figure out why all these Israeli spooks were covered in this shit, believing in this shit. Anytime I went to one of their places, like that they owned culturally, like there's a place in Costa Rica I'm talking about particularly. It was covered in this iconography, whatever. And I was just trying to figure it out. And it's like, and not only that, but I've got Jewish people in my life, and trying to explain that to them, they have this visceral reaction because they're the plausible deniability that the Israelis manufacture, not just Israelis, but the Crown and all of its agents manufacture so that people don't catch on to what's really going on. It's got nothing to do with Judaism. Israelis have been tasked with bringing this world into the technocracy. And as of right now, the fourth industrial revolution would be another way to say it. As of right now, they're being, what's the right word for it? Cannibalized. They're being outdated. That's what all of this is really about with Palestine and whatnot. Why they're allowing people to see the truth of it.
Well, as far as Palestine and Israel goes, I just feel sorry for all the kids. I think all the adults are acting like idiots.
Yeah, imagine how many targeted people are in Palestine,
You think there's a lot?
Oh, it's got to be. All the professional Palestinians that were trying to build up Palestine before the war. I think the majority of them were having this nanotechnology, directed energy weapons happen to them. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Have you heard about anyone in Israel being targeted?
Yeah, there's a bunch of Israelis that are targeted. Israel has a higher concentration of targeted people than the United States of America.
But you do believe it's the U.S. government that's behind all of it, right?
No,
Or no?
no, it's those 3 blocks. United States holds the lion's share of targets, but Russia and China hold a great amount too. And it's Israelis that manage those 3 blocks. They're the group in between everything that communicates, what needs to happen. And not only that, but Israelis are all dual passport holding people, and sometimes more than that. So what happens is they become international. They don't have a country, and they end up marrying Americans, Chinese, and Russian, and their kids end up marrying American, Chinese, and Russian. So now you've got this parallel society of spooks that are all dual, quad nationals. That's why Jeffrey Epstein had 5 passports. And not particularly because of his family, but because he was interfacing with those people that all had 4 or 5 passports. It's everywhere they went.
Yeah.
It's a rising technocracy. The whole thing is bringing online a new type of slavery. And this slavery consists of having nanotechnologies within the body. That's why Klaus Schwab said himself, the fourth industrial revolution will be, did I say that right? Whatever. Will be within you. Having these that can be accessed through external sources, whether that's directed energy weapons, whether it's street lights, it goes on and on. The computer lights, or the lights of your screens is what I meant by that. But that would be the ultimate goal. I would think is that they could have people be controlled through optogenetics, and not just optogenetics, but optical sources in general through the eyes.
So they are testing on us and also trying to kill us.
Yeah.
Why are they trying to kill us? While they test?
Well, they're building data ledgers, and they don't care. And some of that requires you being tortured, but they also don't care if you die so much as that they have to set up a new source of income. So they don't. Preferably, they just rather torture you for the longest period of time possible. But again, if you die and they get offered more money to kill you, then they will, because this is human trafficking. This is another way to think about this is organ trafficking, right? Because they're trafficking the data ledger that comes from disabling your organs at specific times.
So it's trafficking because the elite is enjoying it. They pay for it.
Yes, I think some of them sometimes definitely do enjoy it, but no, this is the technocratic model in Metropolis. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. It was from the 1920s, but the reason I bring it up is because it was the earliest example of what's actually taking place right now that someone clearly outlined. And people back then, they didn't know about nanotechnologies. They didn't know about physical implants. They didn't know drones. They didn't know how the technologies would progress to enable this. But yes, they enjoy it sometimes, but the greater thing is to build this new type of control grid in which anyone at any time can be killed for any reason. And not only just killed, but can be sexually turned on, can be disabled, can be neutralized would be the best term to think about it, right? And then, like I said, sexually turned on, I threw that in there because we are talking about a degenerate behavior. So there is going to be degenerate qualities to it.
Yeah, they arouse me sometimes for no reason or for disgusting reasons.
Yeah, and they're going to do that to build that data ledger, and they're also going to have people that are derelicts, right? That are degenerates involved in that. So that, because you take the average person that doesn't rape or molest or anything like that, and you put them in control of these weapon systems on someone like you, Juan, that they're not going to particularly like that, right? They're not going to view themselves as being a functioning human doing that to another person. So they get the guy straight out of prison in charge of that weapon system so that, well, one, they like it, but two, more importantly, they'll get better data from you to do it. And that person in charge of it will make it personal. But in general, this whole thing is not personal.
So I'm in Portugal, right? And they use so many cars to gang stalk me. It's unbelievable the amount of resources that is being used. Mm-hmm. How do you explain that even here in Portugal, for example? It's like funding for the police and the intelligence units over here, and then they use it to pay these people or to hire them or to give them a good reason to do so? Yes,
but it's all funneled through NATO, through United States contracts. So they're making money. They're all making money, right? It's human trafficking, organ trafficking, whatever you want to call it. There has to be an element of that to get all these people to do it. But the main source is going through the NATO apparatus. And NATO is just one of 3 blocks. So if you were to travel to Bolivia, for example, The Chinese are the managers of Bolivia. So you'd be running into Chinese intelligence services contractors. They would be doing the same things to you. If you went to, let's say, Armenia, you would have the Russian apparatus over you.
What about the Arabic countries? Do they have targeting there too? Like Dubai,
Yes.
Qatar?
Yeah. They all do, everywhere in the world. Because the 3 blocks make up the world right now. The 2 of those blocks are loosely connected in what we call BRICS. The Russia and India is a big part of this too, but the Russia and China is connected through BRICS, and NATO is the other side of it. But if you fall outside of those 3 blocks, then Israelis will go